Welcome to another Liquid Bullet Productions. With us today is Mr. Stephen Gillen. Thanks for coming, Stephen.
Thanks for having me.
So, Stephen is a former senior criminal. He's known as the most dangerous criminal and prisoner, an A category prisoner who was also released as an A category prisoner. He served over 20 years as an ACAT and he's now transformed his life. He's now a successful global entrepreneur, a writer and executive producer. He's also nominated for the International Peace Prize. So thank you very much for coming today, Stephen.
My pleasure. My pleasure to be here.
So can we just have a little bit of a sort of brief history of your background and your upbringing, Stephen?
Yeah, I was born here, Lee, in 1971, 50 now, and but I was taken across to Belfast as a born baby, really. I mean, I can't remember it. Six months old. Yeah. Because my family come from there, and of course that was in the middle of the war then, right? You know, it was Civil War. You know, the bombs, the guns, the whole bit there. You know, Ireland's a lovely place, but that was a time of great violence and turmoil there, right? And so I stayed there till I was 9. Yeah. Then I was brought back over because, you know, I was with maternal family there, but I didn't have my mother there because she'd come back to England to try and make a kind of a life for us. Yeah. So I was kind of left there with a maternal grandmother who was my surrogate mother, Madge. She died of cancer, you know, when I was 9, you know, so that was big for me. That was traumatic for me. So at that point, because of the trouble as well, right, you know, all the trouble, all the violence was escalating even more at that kind of point. I was 9 then.
How was that around that sort of, how was it being in that sort of situation at that time? They were quite horrific times, weren't they, the sort of wars going on out there?
Yeah, you know, I see my first person murdered in front of me, you know, when I was a young kid there.
Really?
Yeah, about 7. I went out, I got caught up in these riots. They should just flare like that, Lee, you know, out of nowhere. Yeah. You know, they started shooting from the flats, you know, all the army come, the guns, you know, there was coaches on fire and, you know, petrol bombs, all that stuff. So people was running, I hid behind a hedge, I was 7, you know, I was terrified really, but you'd run with the big boys then, right? But I was caught up in it really, you know, so we couldn't go on the road, you know, heavy fire on this road, you know, there was people taking shots and all that, and someone got hit in front of me, you know, I was underneath a hedge, you know, and he died calling for his mother. He was 3 meters away in front of me. That was, you know, that was a terrible thing because you couldn't move in that road, and he was locked there, and I was locked there, you know, there's all the blood coming out of his mouth, and I watched him die basically, you know, for 20 minutes while he was there in front of me, you know, so that was...
I suppose as well, I mean, that's bad enough to see as an adult, but for a 7-year child, that must be quite traumatic to sort of see sort of stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed me, Lee, to be honest, you know, because I was very shielded with the family because of what was happening outside the door. So to be witness to that so close like that and alone in that circumstances, you know, it shadowed the life for me. It has to be.
Was you sort of that age aware of what was going on out there, or was it sort of, as you was a child, sort of kept sheltered from it?
I was kept sheltered because I was a young kid, but when you went out even, you know, or I go out with my aunt or whatever, you know, Ireland, Belfast, then in them days, I mean, there was checkpoints everywhere. You know, soldiers would just come, jump out, there'd be, you know, all that stuff. Bombs would go off, you know, all of this. It was everyday stuff. So you was very, very aware that there was a lot of tension in the air, a lot of suspicion, a lot of violence. It was it was a dangerous place. I mean, we had people in the family, Lee, who had been caught up in bombs and different stuff, just normal people, but they'd been, you know, they'd really suffered with their nerves after that. That had finished them after that. They didn't even really want to go out of the house. It was a very sad time then in them days, you know.
Yeah, I suppose even in your own house, you probably felt unsafe like at that sort of time.
Yeah, which is a shame, you know, because Irish people are wonderful, but you know this runs deep, and it was you know, a civil war. Bad things happen in a civil war.
Yeah. Just ask you, so were the schools still going on at that sort of when the war's going on, or were they sort of a little bit?
No, you go to school. That was a strange thing. Life kind of was normal, but of course it weren't normal there then. Everyone was trying to get on with it. I mean, it was a very hardship because, like any war, there was a lot of scarcity there.
Yeah.
You know, and no jobs and stuff like that. You know, there was a martial law there all the time and a civil war, so it wasn't a normal environment. You know, so to grow up in that, it was certainly certainly shaped me in some ways, even though I didn't know it, for stuff that was going to come later.
Yeah, I suppose in one aspect, you know, if you've grown around that, it must make you quite mentally tough, you know, because from what the normal child sees, it's bad. You know, you've experienced the worst, really, haven't you?
Yeah, it's strange, you know, because I come to East London after, very fast place, and you know, of course, but I couldn't help thinking, well, yeah, you know, but it's not like where I come from.
No,
though.
that's right.
I see bombs going over the end of the road, and you know, shootouts, you know, that go on all night and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of that kind of a thing, you know. But I was different when I come over here because I spoke different because I've been there as a young kid, even though I've been born here.
You had the Irish accent.
Yeah, so I was different. So, you know, I had that as well.
So how did you get on once you come back over to England? What sort of age was that?
I was 9, and you know, the truth is, when I come over here, looking back, Lee, this is when a lot of the trouble started for me.
Right.
Because
that age.
yeah, because that trauma I'd taken with me, but of course I didn't know how to translate that. I was a young kid, you know, and I was in an alien place, really, for me.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I had to go out, I had to survive. You know, I had to work with what I got. I didn't really have family as such. I had to make my own way. So, you know, I become a street kid very, very, very easy and very quickly because you make your own.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking to belong. I was looking to make my own family. I had to do that at that point.
Did you find it easy to fit back in when you come back over? Like, because obviously you've moved from your friends and stuff again, so it's like starting fresh, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very tough, to be honest. And of course, you know, it's like anyone, you're kind of different, you talk different, stuff like that. You have a hard road, you know. But, you know, I never shied away from that. But that kind of forged me. I mean, I was always popular, but of course I had my trouble down to not fitting in and being different, right? But I was kind of a rebel already at that point, right? And but that was the beginning of me knowing I had to be more and do more.
Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, and more, you know, and that became a pattern for me, which in a kind of way, I suppose it was a belonging or protection, kind of, maybe. But that's the way I went at that age.
Yeah. So what sort of things were you doing when you was back here at that age, sort of building up the ranks?
You start off with silly things, you know, and it's about the relationships that you're with, the kids that you're with. But we was naughty boys, who turned into very naughty boys, who turned into very naughty men. I mean, that was the thing about it. So, you know, you do your petty stuff, but you know, I was into serious stuff, robberies and violence, and a lot of like gang stuff really early, from the ages of 14, 15, 16.
Oh, really? So still in your teens?
Yeah, it was very young when it started for me, Lee.
When you say robberies, what are we talking, sort of like supermarkets, or are we talking bigger sort of money stuff?
Well, you start off, look, you know, we was doing things like waitress snatches or people coming out of the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the start of the robbery game, right? But of course, anything that moved, I mean, that was the thing, you know. And then, you know, you'd go on the boxes, you'd go anything that moved, really. But you'd come up the ladder from there, you know, to the vans, jewellery shops, whatever we thought was a fair game, we could get away with. or was doable, or we had information on, or we fancied, you'd do. I mean, it was as simple as that.
I suppose as well, sort of, as you're learning as you're going, aren't you? Learning more skills to get away with these crimes.
Yeah, and it has to be said as well, Lee, I have to say, look, you're groomed. You know, this life, let me just say, right, you know, this life of organised crime, you are groomed. And it was the same for me, because I had the older ones, you know, I didn't have any role models that was healthy. So, you know, the ones that we see that was attractive, who seemed to be the ones that, to be someone, you know, it was all the villains, right? Yeah. You know, it was all the villains. You know, they had the nice clothes, they had something about them, they had the women, they had the cars, they seemed to have the, you know, the money, the influence.
It looks like they could lifestyle.
Yeah, everyone was, you know, the open doors, you know, it's attractive, right? It's that kind of beguiling thing. Of course, we know that's a load of rubbish when you get there, right? It has to be said. But, you know, as a young kid, you're really, really susceptible, you know, to that stuff. So
I suppose as well, as a child, you don't really know, you know, when you see other people doing stuff, you think that's the right path. You don't really make your own mind up from right and wrong at that age, do you?
You don't know what you don't know, Lee. You know, and this is the thing, right? You know, you can't put a young head on old shoulders, an old head on young shoulders. Yeah. You can't do it. I mean, we've all tried it, I'm sure. You can't do it, you know, because you need that experience. You need to make your mistakes. You need to get your own maturity in your own way. But the people, places and things around you are the big drivers of that.
Yeah.
They're the things that's going to create your future and give you your choices of where or what you think you should be doing. So, you know, but I went through a lot of trauma in homes as well, children's homes and stuff like that. So that was a middle bit for me. Yeah. I didn't really have anyone around me, Lee, or anything.
Yeah.
That has to be said.
What sort of age were the homes you've got sent to?
They was around kind of 12 it started, you know, and I remember the first time that they sent me away, the courts put it off till after my 14th birthday. So I was old enough for them to send me away, and that was detention centre, right? So I was, you know, a very active bad boy then, really. I was getting into all sorts of trouble. But then I had the older ones, you know, and I knew the older ones, the older faces, you know, it was very, very, you know, close to me in a family way. So I was groomed and I was showing, you know, the way, you know, by, you know, some leading criminals of the day of what was possible and how you should conduct yourself.
Yeah. How did you find the homes that you sent to as a child? Because I don't know obviously how true it is, but when you see videos and stuff, they seem to treat you like an army camp. It's like, you know, you just can't answer them back. You'll get a good clip round the ear or beating or...
Yeah, army camp, you get a clip round the ear. It was all that kind of stuff where I was. You know, some of the people it was just skinny kids in there, right then. Yeah. But some of them kids that we see there I was with, they went on to be, you know, a lot of really, really notorious criminals in the day. So we started there.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, some of the homes I went to, the other homes, you know, I should try and protect some of the people in there like you do. You know, the younger ones are more vulnerable when you couldn't. So, you know, they should lock me in a boiler room for that and all kinds of stuff they had to do. You know, there was a lot of violence in there. It was.
Did you witness a lot of bullying going on in there?
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff, a lot of the heavy stuff, violence. I didn't see none of the sexual stuff, but it was full on violence and, you know, and all that stuff. Even then, right? And you know, that was very bad. So there was a line of this stuff now, you know, coming through. So this was obviously, you know, shaping me towards where I was going, Lee.
Yeah, I always picture that, like them sort of scenes as you've seen the film Scum with Ray Winston.
Ray Winston.
Is that what it's like in there for you, or was it?
We know Ray too. Yeah. Do you know what it is? I think Scum is a really, really good description.
Yeah.
Because it's showing you what I should do it, Lee. I mean, I've done it. You know, people out there would know it was away with me, like that PP9 in the shop.
Yeah.
I've done it many times. People much bigger than me. I thought, you're not going to get away with that. So I'll be waiting for them in the morning.
Yeah.
PP9 and all that. You know.
So
it was it was the snooker balls and all that. That was a good representation, I think, of what it was youth custody then, so I went DC. But I got slung out of a lot of them, you know, Portland, Huntington. I ended up Dover. I ended up at Portland Bill, which is like an old Napoleonic camp.
Oh, right.
You know, you look out, you've got the sea there, it's a sheer cliff. It's a little island down there. And you go there, you don't go anywhere else from there. So they take the worst of the worst.
Blimey.
I think I was there when I was 18. But so this was the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff, yeah, it's very similar.
So when was the first sort of run-in you had with sort of the police, that type of thing, or being arrested? And
I'd had a lot of run-ins as a kid for stupid stuff, you know, taking cars, all stupid stuff, silly thefts and all that. I suppose the first thing, I got nicked for a stabbing, wounding with intent when I was 15.
Blimey.
In a fight. So, you know, when I think of that, really, I suppose that was one of the most serious, you know, I got sent away for that. And that was probably the first most serious thing, violence-wise.
Yeah. And when you're inside, do you find like a lot of people say they meet other type of criminals and they sort of learn in there of more of a criminal way? Did you find that at all, Stephen? Or?
Absolutely, it's a university of crime, Lee. You know, this is the thing. You know, and you know, if you're in them places, then you know it's a shame, but the statistics show that it doesn't really do most people good. You know, they return, they come back. You know, and that's because if you're in them places, then you're getting set in a path, and of course you're being programmed. And you see people who's more elevated at that, and it's an easy jump for people to say, "Oh, well, I'd have a go at that." You know, I could do that. I think that'd be better for me. You know, and I'd do that. Just like if you was a trainee doctor and you was around a load of doctors, and then there's some really top-notch surgeons there. You think, oh, maybe I'll have a go at that. I could do that. Yeah. So it's a journey, Lee. You know, like anything else.
Yeah. So when you come out of them, Stephen, do you sort of get help and support? Or are you then sort of left on your own, which then turns people back down that criminal path to fend and support themselves?
I think no is the answer. You know, and this is a great shame for people because we make mistakes as human beings, but the whole thing about life is that we learn by them and improve ourselves, right? But we need help and support with that sometimes, and this is a real area where that transition, because it's not a normal life if you're locked up like a dog for whatever, and then they say, there you go, now you can go and run with the wolves, right? You know, I mean, you're setting yourself up to fail there straight away. So it's that middle bit that's important, and what I see in society is it's all too little, all too late, and there's nothing really set up which is conducive to really help people in the cold light of day. Yeah. Because a lot of people, they want to change their life with it, Lee, but they go 6 months with it. They're tired, they can't get a job, everyone thinks he's this, he's that. No one gives them a chance. No, that's so their hands are tied. They think, well, so I've got to survive. What do I do?
Same circle, they can't get out of it.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so going back to your own life now, so what age was that, you got the sentence? 15?
Yeah, I got sentenced when I was 15, and then I went on. I kind of, I was out and in a few times, and then, 18, 19, I was very, very involved in gang violence and all that. There was guns around when I was 16, but I really got 16. Yeah. There was around and different stuff, right? But I really started getting into that when I was like 17, 18, and that was the start of the robbery crime. And that's when it started getting really, really serious. It's
still a very young age, isn't it, to be involved in that sort of stuff with guns and stuff. Or when I look at youngsters that age, they still look like kids to me. So
look,
very young age.
It's so truly, and even me, when I look back, I've got my own children, got 3, I've got one 28 now, and when I look at them, it's a child, isn't it?
Yeah,
really,
right,
17. But then I think about how I was forged, and the life I'd been through, and how really I was set up for failure.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I do in my life now, we build businesses, do a lot of things. Is one of the things that we make sure by doing the engineering of everything is we set ourselves up for success.
Yep.
It's so important to set yourself up for where you need to go next. So when you're being set up and produced and shaped for failure, then who's going to be surprised when you get failure, and plenty of it?
Yeah, so going back to sort of what you're just touching on there, do you think if you had a goal or a mindset or somewhere you wanted to go to, you would have gone down a different path? Or was you sort of lost in that same circle, as you say?
I was definitely lost at that time. Of course I was lost, right? I was definitely lost, Lee. But we want better for ourselves. Even then, I knew, although I was lost, I still wanted better for myself. But, you know, what you need is you need people, places and things, and you need some of them elements to come together at the right time. And you need a bit of support, you know, the right support, right, to help you along with stuff. You know, there needs to be a bit of consistency with stuff as well, Lee, as you know yourself.
Yeah.
This is why so many people, you know, they need a good help with that stuff. I wanted to do other things, but I couldn't see anything else I could do or I could be. I felt all my options, all my choices was just blinkered.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, well, you know, there's one like lucky guy who becomes a sports star and gets out of here just by grace of God. Then there's another one, maybe he's a brain box, he's lucky. He kind of gets out and goes and, you know, works in the city. But, you know, for the rest of us, you know, us mere mortals, you know, we have to go out and we have to thieve to survive, or we do whatever we have to do, like, you know, to get on. Living. So that was the thinking.
Yeah. So what sort of age did you start getting into the more serious crimes?
It was 17, 18, and, you know, I was full blast. You know, you have to be accountable for that life. You know, I lived it to the full. It was very violent. You know, we had our little gang around us, our little firm, where we'd go out and we'd do whatever, and we was very close knit. You know, and there was a lot of violence and different stuff. And, you know, and I was also, of course, round, you know, a lot of the older villains of the time. You know, a lot of the big names of the time, you know, and I knew people everywhere, not just in London, but, you know, in Manchester and Liverpool and different, you know, and, you know, of course they groom you even more than at that time because they can see you're a lunatic. Yeah. You know, you're a lunatic that they can manipulate so they can send you out or whatever. You know,
sort of using you a little bit.
Yeah, they'll send you out there.
Work, so.
Yeah, this happens. You know, this is the journey, the baptism of fire, that this thing that we all go through in that life. You're used. Everyone's using everyone, Lee. Yeah. You know, because they don't want to do the prison. You know, and that kind of stuff. So, you know, they load you up. They load the gun. You know, and they send you to pull the trigger, right? Yeah.
Are them the same people that sort of send you to do these jobs there to support you when you get arrested and when you're in prison? I'm guessing not.
Everyone talks wonderful stuff, don't they? What they're going to do and all this great stuff, what we're going to do. My experience, and I do say sadly, not because that life was wrong, right? Yeah. It was an evil life, Lee, and it was wrong, but in a human nature kind of a way. Because when you're really making bonds with people, you really get close to these people, you respect them. Your life's on the line, so there's a lot of faith between it, and, you know, you're quite stupid really in many ways. You believe what they say, oh yeah, you go away and anything goes wrong, you know, you're going to be all right. Yeah. There were a couple of people I had in my life, which I still have in my life. I mean, they're away from that life, the same now, many years. It's got families, their own businesses and all that, but they was with me throughout. But many of them, Lee, it's just talk, isn't it? Everyone's for themselves, right?
Just forget about you once you're there. You're on your own.
Yeah, this is the usual way of it.
Yeah. Can I just ask you, how was sort of your mindset going into prison the first time? What sort of went through your mind as you?
I think you're a bit kind of pensive. You think, God, you know, you've got a little bit of like fear around you about it. You know, I was 14. I thought, what's this going to be, right? Yeah. But when you kind of go there and, you know, then you've kind of done that, you know, and I handled it, you know, really, really well from the off, really. I mean, you see other kids in there really in a bad way over at the same age. So I must have been of sterner stuff anyway.
Because you'd already been through the homes and the systems, and
it was already, I think,
sort of there, wasn't you?
100%. So that's a good reflection. So I kind of, but I sailed it in a way, right? And I got through that. And then when you get through that, you think, oh, well, there's no, I've done it now. There's no lions and tigers in there. I've got through it.
Yeah.
Not that you want to go back. You definitely don't. But at least you know that if you do, you think, well, I could do that again if I had to. It wasn't so bad, right? It's
What was the long sentence you got? What sort of age was that?
I got 17 years.
17.
Yeah, the long sentence I got was 17 years, and I had 3 trials at the Old Bailey for armed robbery. The first one, City of London, I was found not guilty, right? Yeah. The second one, I was found not guilty, but I was found guilty possession of a firearm. So 2.5 years I got for that. So I went away, I only done a year of that, but then my young son, my first son, Sid, was born. So I was given a home leave, and I come out. I did want to go back, I didn't end up going back later, so I was unlawfully at large. And at that time in the East End, there was these was the times of Albert Patrick, right? Rig approach, flying squad. Yeah. And there was a real cat and mouse game going on there. Right. Of course, a lot of the people I grew up with or knew, and some of my family that I was even married into, and different stuff. There was very heavy, very active villains of the day. They've changed their life now, but we're going right back. And so I was right in the middle of that, and it was very, very active at that time because we was going out doing our stuff as well. So I got nicked on a ready eye. It was like an ambush. The police was there. They said I fired a couple of shots. It was proved in the Old Bailey. It went off by accident, the gun. Yeah. But there you go. So that was it, and we went not guilty, and we was found guilty, I was given 14 years, but with the 3 years consec, so that was the 17 years.
Blimey, it's a long time.
We was Cat A's, it was the armed police escort, it was the whole bit, all the way through.
How was it being in a Cat A sort of system? Because obviously you're in there with the most dangerous prisoners yourself, aren't you? Murderers and,
It's very tough, Lee, and it's very claustrophobic, and it's very demoralising. It's a fucking torture because everything is set around security. They call it on the book, but, people know there's a little blue book which you have with you, which goes everywhere as a Cat A. You've got a little photo of you in there, and if, a officer or screw, whatever, takes you from this side of the prison over to that wing or whatever, you're signed over as a parcel.
Oh, really?
So you're known wherever you are in the prison or who's had you, and they sign you over anywhere you go. If they take you out and you say you go, to the dentist in the prison, or you go to, you're getting canteen or whatever, you go straight to the head of the queue.
Right, gotcha.
All that kind of stuff. And you're observed all the time. And there's a lot of, we knew there's a lot of bugging goes on in there and different stuff. We know...
bugging as in listening?
Yeah, listening devices.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I
didn't realise that.
Yeah, there is operations that go on in there because of the kind of people, and
right, trying to find out sort of information on
from the inside and the out and stuff like that. Right. So, it's a very claustrophobic and watched.
It sounds a little bit like you've been watching a lot of Big Brother House.
Yeah, you are
all the time.
Yeah, you are. That's what category A is like. There's only certain places you can go, certain prisons, high security, that have dogs and all that stuff. Yeah. They move you in a certain way. They never tell you when you're moving, anything like that. This kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what sort of obviously, did you ever meet any of the sort of known sort of prisoners in the system? There's a few sort of big names around, isn't there?
Yeah, I met them all. Because what you would do was category A's is such a kind of elite, small kind of a group, and there's only certain prisons units you can go to. Right. And I was in special units as well. I was in high security units, so you get a different kind of notorious person in there again, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
All of them, you know, Charlie Bronson I knew very, very well. You know, I can go on and on and on. They're all there, you know, from the Brinksmack robbers and, you know, all the notorious murderers or whatever you might have seen, and, you know, all the people of the day.
Yeah, all in there together.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of, in prison, did you sort of start to turn your life around in there, and sort of, obviously you're a reformed character now, totally different person to what you was, so where was the sort of turnaround for you?
You would have thought so, wouldn't you, Lee? But truth is stranger than fiction, right?
Yeah.
And look, the truth was, I was a Cat A all the way through. I was released to Cat A, which is very rare.
Yeah, I was going to say, normally you have to
Yeah, it's very
go through
rare.
the system of A, B, C,
D, be an open prison. I didn't have none of that. You know, I'd probably done about 4 years solitary, you know, 2 years of that in the ghost train, because I was very, very disruptive, you know, and there was a lot of gang stuff went on in there, a lot of violence, different stuff. So you know, the truth is for me, and I'd never advise people to go this way, is I found doing my bird and all the rest of it very tough. So I rebelled, you know, My thing was so angry, Lee. I felt everything had been taken off me. Of course, it had. I thought, well, they're not going to take my self-respect. That's the one thing which I clung on to. But of course, that's a hard road to keep banging your head against a brick wall. And that's their house.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, they'll do with you what they will. I mean, I was up in the cages, and, you know, there's even a documentary that's kind of come with Channel 5 about that. They want me to be doing some stuff about that. I was talking the other day. Yeah, about where they sent us up in the control units in Wakefield up there with Charlie. We wouldn't go in the wings there because it's all the wrong ones was on there. But you've got the cages there, which are the high security cages. I was there for 3 months, battling with them and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So they send you around and round and round. That's how I basically done my sentence, you know. There was a lot of stuff went on. They said I was trying to smuggle in firearms, and there was a big thing about that. So I was sent over to Parkhurst. So all these things together don't make for a good resume, do they? No. So they start to say, you know, we've got a real one here. We're gonna break him. That's what they say. The first thing they say, right, let's break him down. You know,
right.
Let's, you know, and that was the experience.
So you was pretty
there's
much
no rehabilitation.
You was pretty
there.
much fighting the system all the way through then.
Yeah, I was. Unfortunately, I was. It has to be said. That was my way of dealing with it, Lee. You know, I wouldn't advise that. You know, and in my wiser years, looking back, you know, a lot of my friends, they'd be model prisoners. That's really the way to do it, because you want to get out.
Yeah.
I just had my own path in there, Lee.
I suppose though, in a sense of when you've got a long sentence like that must feel like a lifetime. So, you know, it doesn't feel like you're gonna. If it's a 3-year sentence, you can see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, can't you? So, I can sort of understand your sort of the way you went through it, really.
Yeah, that was that's a good thing, because, you know, it's a living hell. It really is, and with all the violence and the paranoia and everything else and all that, I didn't think I'd get out of there. I thought someone would iron me out, or I'd have to kill someone. Yeah. I couldn't see a future. I couldn't see a round the corner. I couldn't see the end of it. I really couldn't for so many years, and that's a terrible place to be. It really is.
It reminds me, I've seen an interview with Chopper Reed, the Australian guy. And it's pretty much your story, where he was so used to prison, he wasn't scared of it, he felt comfortable there, he liked fighting, so that made him dangerous, because he's not worried about getting out, he's not worried about more time. So, you know, people like that, it makes them more of a dangerous person, doesn't it?
Do you know what? It's a certain type, Lee. It really is. It's a very exclusive type that you would never want to be by any stretch of the imagination. But it is all the same. And if you find yourself in that place, it's like the place where people who know that they're never going to get out, so they don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a terrible place to be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suffering in that place as well. It's like the living dead. But if people can imagine that kind of a place, what you've said there, this is close to, you know, the experience. But that is in no way, obviously, a good place.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be hard, like you say, like if there's people in there like that, you know, you've got to tread on eggshells around them. Like for other people with you, they were probably treading on eggshells around you.
Look, you know, there's a lot of dangerous people in prison, Lee. You know, and we'll just say, they say, are dangerous. They said, yeah, everyone's dangerous in my book. I've seen the biggest lump and I've seen the skinniest geezer. He'll run up behind you, stab you in the back and run. How's that for dangerousness? Yeah. There's some real lunatics in there. That will teach you about dangerous people. Some of the most dangerous people I've seen, right, on witness, they're not what you would think.
No, I suppose
they're
like
skinny,
they say,
little.
you never judge a book by its cover.
You learn that in there, you really do. You know, and you learn that everyone is flesh and blood. You learn that too, and you learn the same out in the street in that life, that him tomorrow, him today, you tomorrow. It's a game of chance in many ways. If you play it, then you know, when you live by the sword, then you're not to be surprised if you die by it, right? I mean that's a reality.
Yeah. Can I just ask you a bit obviously about your release? Obviously, you was released as a Cat A prisoner, which is, like you say, pretty unheard of. So, how did that come about?
Oh, there's a story behind that too, because they put me up in Durham. One of their tricks was to put me up the north. That's what they do on the northern circuit, because all my family was down in the south, to make it harder, right? Try and make you conform, right? So they moved me from Durham. I was up in Durham, and they moved me down to Belmarsh to release me.
Yeah.
So Cat A's in the morning, they'd come down. I'd go down at 9 o'clock, and then let me go out. So they didn't take me. So they take me up to this room about 10 o'clock. All my family was out there waiting for me to come out that day. Don't forget, this is a day I've waited for 11 years and 9 months I'd done when I got out, right? And one hit. So they come out with this big story about, they think they've gone back a few years and they've found out that because of something that happened, some fine or some bullshit they were saying, that I might have to do another 90 days. You know, they didn't want to release a Cat A who wasn't meant to be released, so they're waiting on the Home Office, and it's smoke and mirrors. And it was a load of, it was a pack of lies, a strategy, because I knew, because when they released me later that day, but when the courts was going out, so I got released at 5 o'clock that day. Right. But what I found out, another friend of mine, Chrissy Pearman, who was in there, when someone went up to see him, a screw said to him that day I got released, they said, that Stevie Gillen, your pal, Stevie Gillen, he said, yeah, he said, they had all police out there waiting for him when he got out. Really? You know that, don't you? That's why. Yeah, and you know what? It's a funny thing, Lee, and this was really sad, mate. It really was, because I'd gone through all that hell, 12 years, so it's like a time warp. Yep. I'd lost all of that in my life, which is, it's unbelievable to think of what that actually amounts to, right? It's just like coming out of one door, going into another one. Then I'm let out, walked out with dogs and all that as a Cat A. I get in the car, but they've got a big surveillance unit because I'm a Cat A still. Yeah. They don't want to lose me. They want to know where I'm going and who I'm seeing and all this stuff. And you know, I even felt it when I was in the car and I was going back to East London. It was nuts, because I was getting them feelings again that I had 12 years, and I thought, this is not right. You know what I mean? And I thought, it was a lot of that anti-surveillance, funny cars, funny people, and all that. I felt a bit strange. I thought, of course, I'd come out, wouldn't happen, but it was confirmed. That's what they'd done. Yeah.
Well, I can understand that though, because you've done your sentence, you've done your time, so for them to be then looking at you again, it's going to make you feel like, like you've been guilty of something else, or it's put you on edge, doesn't it?
Goes to show you, though, that's a real story, and it goes to show you, what goes on. So their thing was to stall me, so whatever was going on with the police, so they could get the obo set up. So that's what that was about. They was buying time. Yeah.
So can I ask you about, obviously now you're released, how did you find it when you first came back out? Obviously it's a lot of years a lot of changes probably happened, and
it's really, I Didn't find it as hard as people was kind of saying, oh, you're going to find it hard. But it's very fast. And the truth is, look, you know, when you come into a sentence like that, it'll take you a couple of years, 3 years until it hits you. It's the same on the other side, Lee.
Yeah.
To get back into normal life, you need a couple of years until you. And don't forget, I had a lot of traumas, a lot of stuff going on inside me. I mean, towards the end of that sentence, I was intelligent enough. About a couple of years where I was coming out to say, look, Steve, the anger has kept you safe in a strange way. It's kept you going, right? But you're destroying yourself. Unless you let it go and try and get back to being a human being again, you're not right. Do you know what I mean? You need to find your way. That's an interesting point. So I knew that. But it wasn't, it took me 10 years of a transformation at the other side. And of course that still goes on to come back to myself after that, Lee.
Yeah. Would you be able to talk us through a little bit? Obviously, you've done your crimes, you've done your past, and the sort of transition. Can you talk us through sort of how it affected you and what sort of help you had around you and stuff?
I had a lot of challenges. I mean, I had the full house. I had addiction problems because of all the stuff I took with me, and I'd been nutted off, literally, and they brought me back. Right, I had I had all that stuff. I had the criminality element of it. Really, really, really integrate with it. That's all I knew. Right, so I had all that to overcome. I didn't know how that would be possible to overcome that, right? But, when I went into rehab after, there was a guy in there, he's still a friend of mine, and I walked in there, he knew who was coming, he knew the history. I didn't walk through that door, I fell through it in the end, pretty much, right? Broken, right? And he said to me, Steve, there's only one thing you need to change. I said, what's that? He said, everything.
Oh, yeah.
And he was right, of course. So that was the start for me, of getting well, finding my way back to myself, Lee. And that's a journey. And of course, it's an ongoing journey for all of us to step into our light.
Yeah. So I'm just going to jump ahead now, Stephen. So obviously, you've really turned your life around, done some amazing stuff. Wrote this book here, so you're all for this book. Can I just ask how have you got into the author and writing, and how did that come about? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, because people, they don't get this middle bit. They see this global entrepreneur with all these companies and all this stuff, and then they see that and they think, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
What's the secret sauce? What's the middle bit? So I'll give you the middle bit, and I'll condense it really, really, because I want to help people out there and give them the lineage of how I done it, right? Yeah. So, I clean now 12 years, right, coming on to 13 years. That's the first thing, right? And I done voluntary work at the start, soup kitchens, all that stuff. I used to help a lot of people. I even brought my kids there. And that was really healthy for me, finding my humanity again as a normal human being. And being part of the world, where before I'd never been part of the world. I'd always been an outcast, an outlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. My family had a building company then. My family Irish as well, really, really tough. So, I wasn't given any favours because I was the black sheep who was in prison all them years. So I got it worse. So there was no handouts, so it's easy road. It was harder for me. So I started labouring, digging roads in shit and rain, and I went from being a labourer, £70 a day labourer, Lee. Yeah. £70 a day labourer, to being a supervisor, to running my own jobs of 25 men, 600 grand's worth of plant, in the Isle of Wight, to have my own business in 18 months.
Blimey, that's good.
So that's the bit that people can't understand. Yeah. But in the shit and the dirt, and getting plenty of shit and dirt as well, which I probably needed at that time to shape me up a little bit and calm me down and ground me.
Yeah.
My family, that's stupid either. They know what needs to be done. So even though these things are a bitter pill to swallow, they can be the right pills, right, at that time for us, yeah? So then I went on, you know, I started building companies. So I started public speaking, you know, inspirational stuff to try and help people.
Yep.
You know, my next company was a media IT company. I started writing documentaries, learning about filmmaking.
Yep.
You know, stuff like that. Then I went on. I done a business degree at the London School of Business.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, I went there, Lee. This is a good one because I went there because one, I wanted to see that I wasn't actually thick.
Yep.
Really, you know, and two, I went there thinking, well, you know, we was talking about if it had been different or we had had different role models. Through my journey, I always thought, I wish I would have been able to do that like a normal guy.
Yeah.
And I'd have loved to have been a part of that and go there. And it seems everyone does this and have a really good time and they're all right. They don't have no bullshit. So there was part of that in me that wanted to do that as well, right? So I'd done that, you know, I was picked as one of the two, you know, there was business accountancy, business law, business management. I'd done the business management. I was picked as two of the top students all the way through that.
Okay.
But I was already building companies by the time I went in there.
Yeah.
So they're teaching people how to be hired. So I was like, okay, you know, I mean, I'm a mature student then, right? So that was good, you know, and I went on from there, Lee.
Yeah. I just asked, how did you come onto the writing of your book?
I kind of, you know, I come to the stage where I've always been a writer. This was the thing. If we go back to where I was in segregation units, and they wouldn't let me have anything apart from a pen or a paper or a book. I was well read. I self-educated myself.
Yep.
And my escapism was I could be anywhere.
Right.
To get out of that hell.
Yeah.
So that's where I started my
Like
writing journey.
Creating stuff.
Yeah, I didn't just arrive.
Yeah.
It went all the way back.
Gotcha.
So I'd always been interested in it. I was a fair writer. Wasn't bad at it. I enjoyed doing it. So that was the right journey. Of course, you know, it's optioned to be a film now.
Yeah. Can I ask you a little bit about your book? Can you tell us what it's about and stuff?
It's a biopic. It's about it's my life story.
Yeah.
Lee. But you know, the thing about the book is there's a few things about it. Was I wanted it to really go for the authenticity of the story. No frills. You know, and the truth is there was so much going on in my life, it was hard to condense it in the right way into just one book. It could have been 5 books.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great book, you know. I don't shy away from anything. I go, you know, straight for the jugular of stuff.
I suppose as well what we've touched on today is just a little, you know, a little touch in that book.
Yeah, people love it. I mean, you know, I'm proud of it because, you know, it's a great achievement to do it. It was quite emotional, emotive writing it. It brought up all sorts of stuff in me, churned up all sorts of stuff, right? But I get so many, so great feedback. I mean, obviously it's going to be a film. It's going to be unbelievable to see that in the silver screen, right?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the film you said about made for it?
Yeah, we got the script. We've had the script for over 18 months.
Yeah.
COVID come at a funny place.
It just shut everything.
Yeah, with the industry, but we still had a lot of stuff to do, like our casting board, and we was procuring the finance and a lot of stuff, you know, and doing the legals with it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just production stock, but people still doing post and pre-production with films, with all the option and the stuff. So we didn't lose too much time, but yeah, you know, it's a big budget movie. You know, there's been some big names mentioned. It's a wonderful script, slightly different from the book, right? Yeah. You know, I can say. Kieran Souchet wrote the script. You know, he's from the Souchet family, of course. His father is John, you know, the famous broadcaster, and his uncle's David Poirot.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, Poirot, right? Yeah. David Souchet, he wrote it. Me and Kieran. Kieran wrote the screenplay, but you know, we'd done a lot of work on that, and yeah, we've got some really good people with it. So there's going to be a lot of stuff this year, very soon, about this now, and we're looking to start shooting this year with the Monkey Puzzle Tree.
Yeah, while we're talking about films, can I just go into a little bit more? Because you're obviously running your own filming company and producing stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, you're in our studio today,
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're in the
Raw
studio.
Media Studio 3. This is a brand new studio we've just refurbished. You know, we needed that studio offices and different stuff. We needed that capability because I've also got a worldwide TV deal
Yep.
with a worldwide aggregate. That's Film Vault, right?
Right, yeah.
Film Vault, very influential, doing wonderful work, very professional. But they're a global aggregate, you know, which is a distributor of film and TV content all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, they also build digital TV channels for all the main broadcasting platforms. This is Samsung TV, you know, Amazon, Philips, Sky, Netflix, all of these guys. So that's our broadcaster. That's their broadcasting partners, and of course through us, we've all got them broadcasting partners now.
Yeah.
So I've got my own channel.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Stephen Gillen Crime Files.
Yeah, the Stephen Gillen Crime Files, right? So it's on Roku TV at the moment. It's on Amazon Fire TV. We're on DocBox on the crime channel there, Samsung TV, Philips TV. But we're going to be migrating across all the major platforms. So it's really worth a look in there. Now, you know, I've interviewed a lot of the top guys, you know, especially in the States, you know, a lot of the mafia guys and mobsters there. Michael Francis, John Alai, Bobby Louise, all these guys. There's some billionaires there as well I've interviewed. And, you know, we're getting a lot of really... Now I'm focusing here as well on, you know, a lot of the British criminals now. A lot who I know and would have known from the old days who've now changed their life and getting on. But we're going to be doing a different level of elevated production now, making episodic TV series, and you know there's going to be documentaries, films, and other stuff coming into this channel now. So it's very cool. You know, we're also co-producing with a lot of other companies now on the way through. So
it's been an amazing transformation, really. To what you're doing now is like someone's life dream, isn't it? Going down that path of the film work and stuff.
No, thank you. We've worked extremely hard, you know, and we still continue to. We really do. It's a really all-in thing, and look, it's always the team, and this, you know, it's the support, you know, and I'm just so privileged now with the wonderful people I have in my life. You know, my partner Daphne DeLucci, branding expert, co-founder of Raw Media, and many other wonderful people. Even, you know. Has to be said, some of the shareholders we have and investors, really dear friends who, you know, support the massive work that we do to you know, to help us go forward and create the wonderful stuff for people that we're very committed to do, Lee.
Yeah, so from what I've seen, Stephen, I think it's going to be something huge in the future for you here, something in the pipeline. I think you've got the golden egg.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks. You know, and look, you know, I'm a very humble person. My life has made me a very, very humble person and a very grateful person, a very driven person. I don't take no shit from no one, but I'm very, you know, I'm very humble, and it's a we. It's never an I with me. You know, my life, my life has learned me many things. Yeah. So you know, there's a lot of hard work going on, and I don't get ahead of myself, and I keep within the good people that, you know, that I'm privileged to have around me, you know, and through that is a big part of us keep creating wonderful stuff for people, you know.
Can I just urge you, we heard on the grapevine that you'd heard a Nobel Peace Prize as well. Can we just ask you a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good to ask about that for people who's out there. You know, I get so many messages, you know, from people, and they, hey, I'm in a really dark place, or hey, you know, like, you know, you turned your life around, and you know, I wanted to, you know, so many, you know, and I have to say, Lee, this stuff, it really makes my heart sing the most. Yeah, it really does. I get so many of them. So, you know, it's a wonderful privilege to be able, you know, to be someone now from where I come from that can inspire or help people to do better. Yeah. You know, not go through the shit, you know, that I went through.
I suppose as well, people like the They're going to listen to someone like yourself that's been there, done it. They're not going to listen to the average school teacher or, do you know what I mean? They want the proof in the pudding, don't they?
Yeah. So, you know, I'm a peace ambassador, awarded peace ambassador, but the Sonar International Peace Prize, I was nominated for that in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, and I say that because this is the opposite end, really, of the scale spectrum, you know, of my life, of where I started with all that trauma and all that confusion and all that pain, right? So it can be done, you know, this is, of course it can, right? And that was for, I was doing a lot of stuff. I mean, then, you know, early in my transformation, I was going into a lot of prisons and I was doing a lot of talks and, you know, I was doing a lot of stuff, voluntary work. And then I started working for a lot of different companies. You know, we was trying to do a lot of stuff. You know, we helped some companies that were international in Africa, and you know, we're putting some life-saving medicines and different stuff in there. So I was put up for it, and I was very, very honoured, you know, for that. That was a great
achievement.
It was a great privilege for me. I was very emotional about that. You know, and I'll tell you the story because they chased me for 2 days because we had to get the paperwork in. You know, there's only 1,000 people in the world who can nominate someone for this prize. You know, there's £1 million in prize money for the 2 people who win it. This is not some little thing. Presidents have won it. These are the kind of people for changing countries, and it's like, it's mind blowing. And just to even be nominated for something like that is an unbelievable achievement. But how it translated to me, Lee, when I found out, it's crazy because we're always learning, is I started kicking out a bit because I actually thought I wasn't fucking worthy of it.
Yeah.
I started, which is strange, right? But we're human, right? So I went through, and then the tears come and all that kind of, it was a really funny journey for me, right? That it was another level in my learning, right? Especially emotional learning. But I was struck by all the responsibility of it now, right? That I was getting. Again, it was another example to me that, look, you know, your life's different. You have to be a certain way, you know, and you have to sacrifice and keep going with this because it's a big gift. But how it translated me was, you know, I said to my partner Daphne, but what was that I actually felt that my life was worth living.
Yeah.
After all that stuff I'd been through, that was the emotional part for me, Lee. I thought, wow, you know, no matter what it was, what it weren't, what they say, what they don't say, you know, it is what it is. But this actually makes my life, my journey here, worth living. And that was very big for me.
Yeah. Steve, can I just ask you, have you got any words of advice for any youngsters that are finding themselves in the old circles that you used to be in or looking for a way out? Any words of advice from yourself?
Yeah, of course. What I would say is, look, it can be really tough when we're given a shitty hand. You know, if you ever look at mine, right, I was set up for failure.
Yeah.
But it's about setting yourself up for success because no one really gives a shit, Lee. If you want to run with that life and do it, you might run for 2 years with it, 5 years, 10 years, but there's no winners at the end of it.
No.
Intelligent people, they learn quick, right? Don't be dumb, you know, and just realise, look, it's the people, places and things around you. All that glitters is not gold. People are not stupid. Even though they can see the end result, they still think they'll have a good time and they'll go for it. That's not being clever. What is to have all the wealth for 5 years and they strip you bare and you lose everything, maybe even your life? How clever are you? You're not clever at all. That's dumb. That's dumb. Don't be scared to be different. Don't be scared to call people out, stand on your own 2 feet and have your own mind saying, no, that's bollocks. I don't want to do that. Not feeling it. If you want to do it, man. I don't care what you think. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, no one's going to do it for us. We have to take accountability of our own life, and it's not about destroying things. It's about stepping into our own light, improving as a human being, and building things. And you won't do it on that journey. You're always going to lose. Yeah. It's a very traumatic, sad journey, no matter how it may glitter to some people. Yeah. And we know that, Lee, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's just, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the illusion. Don't be fooled, because I'm sure that some people somewhere, they have good people around them. Maybe there's too many bad people whispering in the other ear, but they just need to know that they can do much better and do it, and not be worried about doing it, and doing it early, you know?
Yeah, of course. Stephen, can you just tell the viewers where they can find you and check you up and look at your stuff, please?
Yeah, we're easy to find. I'm all over the Google. You know, you've got the book there. We've got a YouTube channel as well. The Big Shift. You can go on there. Thousands of subscribers on there. So, you know, there's a Facebook, Instagram. So it's really easy. I'd say go to Google. You know, Raw Media, we do a lot of stuff. We build national, global brands. If you put my name in and it'll come up, you can get all our websites and, you know, a lot of content there. It's really easy to, that's an easy way.
Follow your story and look you up.
Well, yeah, you know, there's a lot of press in there. I mean, I've been in every national paper going, really. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So just Google and they can go in and have a look, and there's a lot of content in there.
Marvellous. All right, we're starting to wind it up there, Stephen. It's been an absolutely interesting story. Thanks for coming. Thanks for telling us your story. And we wish you all the success for the future. Thank you very much.
I wish you the same. I wish you the same, Lee. Thank you. Thank you.